To what extent is a portrait a satisfactory representation of its subject? Of course, in the traditional sense of the word, a portrait is meant to depict someone's face, but how nuanced can such an image be? As far as I'm concerned, for example, I wouldn't consider a classic headshot to be an adequate rendition of who I am. This reminds me a little bit of Agnès Varda, an artist and director active all the way from the 1950s to 2019 and considered to be the grandmother of the French New Wave, a film movement characterized by the rejection of traditional techniques in favor of experimentation. Among others, Varda worked extensively in the field of documentary filmmaking, focusing her careful eye on specific groups of people or individuals. Some examples of this include movies such as Salud le Cuban, capturing post-1963 revolution life in Cuba via 30-minute-long photo montage, Daguerreotypes, immortalizing everyday life in Rue Daguerre where the director herself lived at the time, through interviews with local shopkeepers, or Jacques de Nan, a portrait of Varda's husband Jacques Demy's life interspersed with documentary footage of the man's last days before dying.
Chante encore, j'aime bien tes chansons. Retourne à tes rêves, mon petit Jaco.
What I find fascinating is how much these examples can tell us not only about the titular subjects, but also Varda herself. Salud le Cuban is the work of an extremely talented photographer as well as filmmaker, characterized by a uniquely curious, respectful, and open gaze. Daguerreotypes was shot during one of the director's pregnancies when, not being able to leave the house for long periods of time, she ended up using her apparently limited circumstances as fuel for a new idea. The movie is yet another example of her unstoppable creativity and curiosity, which characterize all her work. With Jacques de Nantes, Varda finds a way to process her husband's loss while honoring his life and artistry at the same time. Once again, her portrait of somebody else simultaneously acts as a mirror on herself at a specific time of life. Are my own creative attempts also constant examples of self-portraiture? Perhaps. Years ago, I shot a series of Polaroids of my bedroom to observe how much personal spaces can say about a person. In my case, that I love to be surrounded by what inspires me, I guess. Later on, I began recording everyday moments and scenes from my hometown in an attempt not to forget places and corners I used to walk by every single day in the past, now having lived in another country for almost a decade. These images are somehow part of me, and especially my formative years as a child and young adult. They are imbued with my fear of progressively losing such memories. In other words, a portrait could go far beyond its most traditional form, turning into an object, someone else's image, or even a landscape, maybe. All one would need to do is squint hard enough.